You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. Coming in at 195 pounds from Studio A, he is the reigning, defending, undisputed host of the Ring of Thunder, Sexy Thor! Some Hall of Fame news for you over the past week. Kane, the Great Khali, and the whole effing show himself, Rob Van Dam, were announced to be part of the 2021 WWE Hall of Fame class. Hall of Fame class of 2021. Alongside, of course, Molly Holly and Eric Bischoff. And Batista is no longer part of the class that was supposed to be, I guess, moved over or grandfathered in, whatever the correct term is. Because he was part of the class of 2020, but, 2020. And he's no longer a part of that class, as his schedule conflicted with the induction ceremony. But no doubt Big Dave will be inducted one of these days, and will certainly be in the traditional ceremony with people right there, so that'll be pretty awesome for him once the time comes. What wasn't awesome, at least for Sheamus, but of course for Bobby Lashley, because Bobby Lashley's just awesome, was that even though Sheamus faced Drew on the previous night on Fastlane, Sheamus just faced Bobby Lashley again on Raw, and once again, Lashley beat Sheamus. And Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin were doing their part to distract Sheamus even when Bobby didn't want them to. And then Cedric and Shelton gave Sheamus a post-match beatdown until Drew McIntyre came to Sheamus's aid. And Adam Pearce came to Drew asking if he was cool with doing a 2-on-1 handicap match against Cedric and Shelton. And Drew was more than happy to, and sweetened the deal to make it so Cedric and Shelton would be banned from ringside when he takes on Lashley at WrestleMania. And Sheamus was just so mad at everything, he attacked Riddle on his scooter, so I guess that's about to be a thing. And then, of course, Drew beat Cedric and Shelton, so they'll be banned from ringside, and Bobby and MVP are pissed off at Cedric and Shelton, and Bobby pretty much put out a bounty on Drew and said that anybody that takes him out will have a WWE Championship opportunity of his own. So it's like Bobby didn't need help, but now Bobby wants somebody to take out Drew now. It's a little confusing when I think about it too much. So moving on. Kofi and Woods quizzed Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods of The New Day quizzed AJ Styles on how well he knows Omos and sees if they're really a team, air quotes. AJ didn't know Omos's favorite color, his favorite dessert, or just food in general. And he didn't know his favorite WWE superstar, which turned out to not be AJ, but in fact Andre the Giant, which, yeah, I can definitely see that. Asuka defeated Peyton Royce, who looked pretty impressive here after her promo on Raw Talk that was so good it should have been on Talking Smack. Oh my god, shots fired. From me. Nobody said that. Though I'm sure Paul Heyman would say it if he had any public comments about Peyton Royce's promo, because he loves taking shots at Raw because reasons. And then once Asuka was victorious, we heard, "This is my brutality! This is my brutality!" Okay, I'm getting a little bit too into that song. But anyways, the point being, Rhea Ripley made her debut, finally, by challenging Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania, since apparently Charlotte has COVID, which should put rumors to bed that she bargained hard for her fiancé Andrade to get his release, and to do that, she had to call management's bluff and actually give up her spot at WrestleMania. Nope, it's COVID, so we wish her definitely a speedy recovery. So once we get to WrestleMania, we'll be less than a month into Rhea's rookie year on the main roster, and she will have taken part in 2 WrestleMania championship matches. Crazy. Makes up for that sort of slump she went through in the mid to late 2020, for sure. And Miz versus Bad Bunny is happening, and I'm only miffed at this because, and opinions across the fan base vary about Bad Bunny still being on Raw almost 2 months after he performed at the Rumble, and my personal view is just, hey, good for you, man. Living the dream. This totally should have been a tag team match because including the talents of John Morrison and Damian Priest would have made this match a million, billion, trillion times better. Now, if there was just an unforeseen circumstance like an injury or something, and if I recall, Priest wasn't even on the show last week, so I hope everything's all good with him, then, fine. But if this was just some short-sighted ass booking, then shame. Randy Orton summoned The Fiend, and by that I mean he called out The Fiend. Then Alexa came out and played the whole Jack in the Box, so technically she summoned him. Like a little Fiend doll popped out of the Jack in the Box, and then the arena got dark in the only way the arena can get dark, right before the Fiend comes out. And then Randy started pouring gasoline on him while the Fiend just stood there. Then the Fiend charged at Randy, who hit him with a RKO and was going to finish the job when Alexa climbed halfway in the ropes and distracted Randy long enough for the Fiend to hit Randy with the mandible claw and the Sister Abigail. Then Alexa pointed at the WrestleMania sign and flames started shooting out around the sign. So there we have it, Randy Orton versus The Fiend at WrestleMania. And really, ever since The Fiend got burned alive, and I don't know, maybe even a little before, there's definitely been some varying opinions and divisiveness about how The Fiend's story has gone and Alexa's part and her inclusion in it, and whatever. Y'all can have your opinions. I'm going to eat all this up just fine because it is very filling and very awesome to me. And over on Impact, Trey Miguel was going nutso because of all the shit that happened with his student and Sami Callihan when he threw Triple XL's bags, and they didn't like that too much, so they wanted to scrap. Tommy Dreamer jumped in and was like, hey, why don't we do this at Hardcore Justice in an exploding barbed wire death match? Then proceeded to troll the bomb that turned into sparklers, of course, talking about the Revolution botch, so that was a fun little jab at AEW, and I'm sure some of the guys at Impact are chomping at the bit to get their shots in since AEW likes to lay it on thick every single week. Speaking of AEW, not a whole lot going on except the Pinnacle kicking ass. Still no sign of the Inner Circle ever since they got their ass handed to him, but I hope they come back soon. Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall airing grievances, and will have an exhibition match this week on Dynamite that's supposed to be friendly, but probably won't end that way. Also, this week on Dynamite, we might finally get the blow-off match between Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor against Miro and Kip Sabian in an Arcade Anarchy match, in which I believe there will be arcade machines surrounding the ring that will undoubtedly be used for smashing. And of course, like any arcade I step into, I will absolutely be trying to spot any Mortal Kombat machines in there. Some people who are in the know would say, no, Sexy Thor, you're definitely going to be looking for the cruising machines. And I say to thee, nay. I'll look for those after I spot the MK machines. And how about AEW now putting on house shows, aka untelevised live events now, well, starting April 9th. Man, this is painful. I need wrestling to move at least one state north of Florida. I mean, please. And speaking of Florida, enjoy these commercials that have absolutely nothing to do with Florida.
Howdy! Listen up. I am talking. Now, the question of the hour is, who's got a Doctor Who podcast? Answer. We do. Next question. Who's listening to it? Answer. You are. If you're sitting up there in your silly little spaceship and you've got any plans to listen to a Doctor Who podcast, just remember who's standing in your way. And then, do the smart thing. Listen to Earth Station Who right here on the ESO Network.
My name is Mark McCrae, and I'm the author of The Best Saturdays of Our Lives.
I'm Dan Klink, co-host of the Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast.
The Best Saturdays of Our Lives features programming trends from the 1966 television season all the way through the last hurrah of the early digital age of the 1990s.
On the show, if it's animated, we talk about it.
Order your signed copy today at tbsool.com.
And listen to the podcast at esonetwork.com and all podcast platforms.
Hello. Have you ever wondered how much Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster sold Superman's rights to DC for? Or which popular football star was the Sam Wilson the Falcons' physical appearance based on? You can find all that and more at the History of Comic Books podcast, a podcast dedicated to the creators, events, history, and the companies that made the great comic book medium. Hosted and created by your friendly neighborhood JT Wheatley. Please give it a listen at iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and all our podcasting platforms. Thank you, and go ahead and enjoy yourself a good comic book.
Look, we gotta talk.
Yeah, Thunder Talk.
We're going all kinds of sideways with that sweet nerd junk.
Woke nerd junk.
It's topical,
Political.
Dare I say radical.
We've got all your latest news and reviews.
Hot music.
And a whole lot of comedy.
but it ain't for kids.
Definitely mature content.
So let's talk.
Let's talk Thunder Talk.
Thunder Talk is a proud member of the ESO network. So we just announced a hell of a card for NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. And honestly, we'll probably go over this card like at least one more time next week before we finally get to the big week. I mean, just generally speaking, in the 2 weeks leading up to WrestleMania and Stand and Deliver, we're probably just going to be mostly talking about the build-up to WrestleMania and Stand and Deliver. So night one so far is going to be, of course, Io Shirai versus Raquel Gonzalez in the main event. And we also have a match we never thought we would ever see with Waltzer versus Tommaso Champa for the NXT UK Championship. At the time of that match, Waltzer will definitely be at a solid 2 years as NXT UK Champion. Remember when that title was called the WWE United Kingdom Championship, back when Waltzer first won it? Only Lorcan and Danny Burch had to relinquish the NXT Tag Team Championship due to Danny Burch being shelved with an injury for a while, so a new winner will be crowned at TakeOver in a triple threat between Dusty Classic winners MSK, the grizzled young veterans, I feel like it's been a while since I got to say that on here, and Legado del Fantasma. Speaking of Legado del Fantasma, it's official. Santos Escobar and Jordan Devlin will face each other on night 2, I believe, to finally unify the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. And while Devlin and Escobar were having their little face-off on NXT last week, sure enough, dun 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 dun, I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy. Basically, Shawn Michaels' music hit, and the Heartbreak Kid himself walked out while Devlin and Escobar were facing off with each other. He pulled out a ladder, threw it into the ring, and was basically, without any words, was just like, I mean, ladder match for unifying titles? I know a bit about that. WrestleMania 10. You know, something that Ashley and Amanda at How to Talk to Your Friend About Wrestling, that podcast, they talked about. I mean, he didn't name drop them. I'm name dropping here. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it or just want a really cool and funny extra perspective on the WrestleMania 10 ladder match between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, yeah, definitely give How to Talk to Your Friend About Wrestling podcast a listen, and just do that in general. Going back to night one, there will be a gauntlet eliminator of 6 superstars, those 6 being decided this Wednesday in a 12-man battle royal, so far consisting of Bronson Reed, Austin Theory, Dexter Lumis, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Jake Atlas, Cameron Grimes, Kushida, LA Knight, Leon Ruff, Pete Dunne, Roderick Strong, and Tyler Rust. The winner of the gauntlet, probably Dexter Lumis, will face Johnny Gargano in Night 2 for the North American Championship. Of course, we've got Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship. And this past week was interesting because Finn told Karrion that he found his weakness when Karrion got enraged when Finn got knocked into Scarlet, and pointed out that Karrion lets his emotions get the best of him while Finn learned to control his emotions, and that's how he got where he is today. It really spoke to me. It really did. Then we got a contract signing between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly for their unsanctioned match after their feud spilled outside the Capitol Wrestling Center and got the police involved. Adam kind of made points similar to how I fantasy booked his motivations for turning on the rest of the Undisputed Era, because Kyle failed to win the NXT Championship twice, and then buddied up to Finn and tried to get him to join the Undisputed Era. Kyle agreed that Undisputed Era definitely got where they are by stepping over anyone and everyone to get what they want, and now they forever have heat with the general manager and the rest of the locker room, and Kyle was just speaking all this grown-up, mature stuff. What was funny was that even when he was saying all this stuff that anyone with a working moral compass would agree with, I guess, it looked like William Regal was still scowling at him like he scowled at Adam, like, good Lord, let the man try to make amends and move on from his past. I'm still on Adam Cole's side, though. It's not our fault the system doesn't like being shocked. And that's me saying that. He didn't say that. Moving on to SmackDown, finally. Seth Rollins had a Fastlane rematch with Shinsuke Nakamura. Then Cesaro spun the man some more backstage. So we officially have Seth Rollins versus Cesaro at WrestleMania in what is mind-boggling to everyone. Actually, Cesaro's first singles match at WrestleMania. Well, better now than last year, I guess. Apollo Crews pinned Big E in a 6-man tag match, so he punched his ticket to another opportunity at the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. Sasha Banks is officially trying to play mind games with Bianca Belair, / officially trying to tear her apart, like at the end of Bianca's match against Natalya, I believe, when Sasha came right up behind her and hit her with a backstabber. The theme running through the episode was Adam Pearce having to make a big decision because I guess Daniel Bryan proved at Fastlane he deserves another shot at the Universal Championship when he might have made Roman tap only after Roman speared him for the 1-2-3 when there was no ref present. So the exchange throughout the episode went like this. And welcome to the first ever Smackdown Theatre presented by the Ring of Thunder. Daniel Bryan: I deserve another shot at the Universal Championship because I made Roman tap. Adam Pearce: yeah, I suppose you do, but the match is already set. Sad face. Daniel Bryan: so let me just wrestle the winner right after the match like Roman got to do at Elimination Chamber. Adam Pearce: but that wouldn't be fair. Daniel Bryan: so double standard, yeah? Adam Pearce: Daniel Bryan: let them wrestle on night 1, and I'll wrestle the winner on night 2. Adam Pearce: let me figure this out. Roman Reigns. Setting. Locker room. Yeah, fuck that. I'm only wrestling one time at WrestleMania. Edge enters from right. Edge: yeah, fuck that. Main event segment. Adam Pearce, Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, Edge, all in the ring. Adam Pearce: so, Roman, you're right to only want to wrestle one time at WrestleMania. Roman: yeah, duh. Adam Pearce: and Daniel, you're right to believe you should get another shot at the Universal Championship. Daniel Bryan: yeah, duh. Edge, in his thoughts: shut the fuck up, Snake. Adam Pearce: so it's gonna be a triple threat. Roman: what the fuck? Edge: what the fuck? Daniel: yes! Brawl ensues between the three men. Adam Pierce. Smell you later, losers. Beth Phoenix on Twitter. What the fuck, Adam? And that's the 1, 2, 3. Thanks for locking up with me in Smackdown Theatre on the Ring of Thunder. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Ring of Thunder. You can email me with questions, comments, concerns, ringofthunderpodcast@gmail.com. And if it's a question you want like read on air or something, mark it okay to read. So yeah, just let me know. Give me some good questions to try to answer and figure out, and probably spend way too much time and too many words on, just to help, fill time in the show. I mean, so I can also engage with you, because that's what the whole podcast and social game is all about, is engagement, isn't it? So anyway, kick butts, not nuts.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.